Okay, so you sent in a question, and it's a really fascinating one. It really kind of blends your health journey and your faith, which is something I find a lot of our listeners are really interested in. So we're going to do a deep dive today, specifically looking at this idea. Could switching from coffee to a drink made with capomo, could that be a good move for you? And of course, we're factoring in your specific health situation and being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have actually gone out and gathered information that directly addresses this question, just for you.
Absolutely, we have.
And so what we want to do is pull out those most valuable insights and just kind of lay it all out to help you understand, could this switch actually be beneficial for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think we've looked at it really closely. Looking at all the specifics of, your health and the guidelines of your faith, our mission here is to really help you understand, could incorporating this capomo into your routine really align with, your overall well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right in. I think the first thing that comes to mind, especially for you, is this idea of the word of wisdom, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this guidance advises against hot drinks.
Right.
And it's been clarified that this really means coffee and tea that comes from Camellia sinensis.
Yeah.
That's the tea plant we generally think.
That's exactly right.
But here's a key distinction for you, and this is important when we're thinking about capomo. Capomo, which is sometimes called Maya nut or Ramon nut, it's not a leaf, right?
Right.
It's actually a seed, and it comes from the Brosimum alicastrum tree. They roast it, they grind it up, kind of similar to coffee beans.
Right, they do.
But because it's a seed, not from that tea plant, capomo is generally understood to be, within the word of wisdom.
Right.
So right away, if you're looking for a warm beverage that aligns with your faith, this origin makes capomo, I think, a really promising option.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about your health. Let's start with caffeine.
Yeah, let's do that.
Coffee, of course, has a lot of caffeine. We all know that. But capomo, on the other hand, it's naturally caffeine-free.
It is.
And this is where things get, I think, really important in terms of your health conditions.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you think about your overall health picture, no caffeine could be a really good thing. For example, sleep apnea.
Oh, absolutely.
Caffeine can keep you up, right?
Yeah.
And so, especially in the evening, if you avoid caffeine, it could really improve your sleep quality. This is in addition to using your CPAP machine, which I know you use.
Of course. Have you noticed any connection for yourself between when you drink coffee and how well you sleep at night?
And then there's your epilepsy.
Yeah.
And while caffeine doesn't trigger seizures in everyone with epilepsy, it is a stimulant.
It is a stimulant, yeah.
And for some people, stimulants can lower their seizure threshold.
Yes.
So by choosing capomo, you're taking away one thing that could potentially affect your seizures.
Absolutely. Eliminating that variable.
Exactly, yeah. And then let's talk about schizophrenia and the medications you're on, lurasidone and Depakote.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Caffeine, as a stimulant, can sometimes make you more anxious or agitated.
Right.
And that could potentially make your schizophrenia symptoms harder to manage.
Right.
And, in general, it's a good idea to limit things that could interact with your medications, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always best to, keep it simple and minimize those potential interactions.
Exactly. So choosing something caffeine-free like capomo can just make things easier.
Right.
But even beyond those conditions, a lot of people find that cutting out caffeine just helps them feel better overall.
Yeah, less jitters, anxiety, even those heart palpitations, that some people get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what capomo doesn't have.
Right.
Let's talk about what it does have. What's in it that could be good for you?
Let's do it.
We know black coffee has some antioxidants, but it's not exactly a powerhouse of other nutrients unless you add things to it. So let's start with fiber. This is important for your triglycerides, which we know are high.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's really interesting about capomo is its nutritional profile. It's reported to be a source of fiber, and fiber, as we know, is great for managing those high triglycerides. It actually helps regulate blood sugar and cholesterol, which is really important for you considering you have to watch your carbs.
Right. And it's not just fiber. Capomo also has some key minerals like calcium and potassium, even iron and zinc.
That's right.
And it has antioxidants, just like coffee.
It does, yep.
Those are those things that help protect your cells.
They do. They fight off damage.
Something else that's interesting. Capomo contains this amino acid, tryptophan.
Yes, it does.
And tryptophan is actually a precursor to both serotonin, which helps regulate your mood, and melatonin, which we need for good sleep.
That's right. It's really quite a versatile little seed.
So while the amounts can vary, capomo could potentially help in those areas.
That's
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about acidity. Coffee is, as we know, quite acidic.
Yes, it is.
And for some people, that can lead to acid reflux or just make their stomach feel uncomfortable. And I know your mom actually uses omeprazole for her acid reflux.
Oh, she does.
So there might be some family history there of sensitive stomachs.
It sounds like it.
Now, capomo, in contrast, is considered to be less acidic.
It is.
It's actually closer to being alkaline.
Right.
So it might be gentler on your digestive system compared to coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to consider.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about your gluten intolerance and your peanut allergy. How does capomo fit into that?
Let's look at that.
So coffee itself is usually gluten-free, and it's not a common allergen.
Right.
Capomo is naturally gluten-free.
It is.
So that checks that box for you.
Absolutely.
And it's really important to understand where capomo comes from. It's a seed from a tree in the fig family.
Right.
It's not related to peanuts or legumes at all.
Not at all.
So cross-reactivity with your peanut allergy is very unlikely.
Extremely unlikely.
And it's naturally dairy-free, which is a bonus.
It is, yeah.
Of course, if you're trying pre-made mixes with capomo, always read the label, just in case.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always double check those ingredients, especially with allergies.
Now let's circle back to blood sugar and triglycerides. We talked about this a bit with fiber, but I think it's worth going a little deeper.
Okay, sure.
So the effect of black coffee on blood sugar is something researchers are still debating. But what's clear is that all those sugary syrups, creamers, and fatty things people add to coffee, those can have a huge impact.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do.
And that's where capomo's natural fiber could be really beneficial.
Absolutely.
It could help keep your blood sugar levels more stable, especially compared to those sugar-loaded coffee drinks.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially for you, with your high triglycerides, how you prepare your drink makes a big difference.
It really does.
If you go with capomo, keeping it simple, maybe just with water or an unsweetened milk alternative, that's going to be way better for you than adding sugar or lots of fat.
Absolutely. Keeping it simple is key.
So let's bring this all together just for you. Based on everything we've talked about, switching to capomo could offer some real benefits. It aligns with the word of wisdom, no caffeine, which could help with your sleep, managing your epilepsy, and just feeling better overall. It has good things like fiber and minerals, it's gluten-free, and it's likely safe with your peanut allergy. It's also less acidic, and it might even be better for your blood sugar and triglycerides if you prepare it right.
Right, exactly. It ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
But it's important to be realistic about the taste. It's often described as nutty, earthy, maybe a little chocolatey. It won't taste exactly like coffee. So adjusting to that new flavor, that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's a great point. And as we've been saying, how you prepare your capomo will really affect those health benefits, especially for your triglycerides. So no added sugars, no high-fat ingredients. That's really key.
Absolutely. And finally, and this is really important, given your health conditions and the medications you're on, you absolutely have to talk to your doctor about this.
Yes, definitely.
They can give you advice just for you based on your specific health and make sure that adding capomo to your diet is a safe and hopefully really positive choice.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, it seems like making that switch from coffee to capomo could really be a good thing for you, both for your physical health and for following the principles of your faith.
It could be a great step, and this brings up a final thought for you to ponder.
Yeah.
Beyond just your daily drink, what other small changes can you make in your lifestyle that align with your faith and could have a really positive ripple effect on your overall well-being? I think it's worth exploring how those different parts of your life can really work together to support a healthier and more harmonious you.
I love that. A holistic approach.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has.
We hope you found it helpful as you consider this change. And remember, knowledge is empowering, so keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep striving for a healthier, happier you. Until next time.